Welcome to Doors to Hope and Healing, an inside look at the many facets of work that is happening at the Department of Children and Families, between our staff, the families we serve, and our community partners. My name is Jaqueline Ford. I have had the honor of working for the department for almost 30 years. And although I may be familiar with many of the topics we bring to you, I have invited experts in those fields to help us dispel the myths and misconceptions that can often be barriers to our work. Join us as we open our doors and invite you to have a seat at our table. Sana and Liz, thank you so much for being guests on our show today. Sana, you're an old friend. You had been on the set before, but I welcome you both to talk about an important topic. I think that we could probably all agree that oftentimes, one of the barriers that we have in our work is letting people know of the resources that we have and the tools and the resources that are available to kids and how to access them. Those can always be a barrier. So I think today we're going to talk about an exciting fund that you have available for our youth and how to access that, where that funding comes from, and what that could mean for one of our young people. But before we get started, Liz, can you just introduce yourself to our viewers and explain your role at the Department of Children and Families?
Sure. My name is Elizabeth Hazelwood. So I am a program supervisor with our Transitional Supports and Success team. It's a team that oversees our statewide coordination of all services and programming for our transitional age youth and young adult population.
And by transitional youth, what ages would you say?
Anywhere between the age of 14 to 23,
Okay.
Really that pre-adolescent to young adult population.
That's great.
Yes.
And Sana?
So I am the founder and CEO of Unashamed Inc. We are based in Middletown, Connecticut. I'm also a former foster youth, so I know firsthand about the isolation, the shame, and the instability that a lot of foster youth face in the foster care system. And so Unashamed was really created to try to walk with those youth as they are journeying through the system and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Thank you both for being here. So Elizabeth, could you describe for us what education and training voucher funds, which we're going to refer to on the show today as ETV, which we're always so good for our acronyms. What is that and what is its purpose?
Sure. So within our transitional age youth services, a lot of our work is driven by our federal partners, which some may hear John H. Chafee or the Chafee program. That really is a federally funded program that supports our young adults who have experienced foster care in their process through transitioning into adulthood. Specifically with our ETV, or the Education and Training Voucher Fund, it's a federally based initiative or fund that supports this transitional age youth population and their success throughout their post-secondary education career, whether it be education or vocational career prep and training. It's funding that our government really has set aside for this unique population of young people that have experienced foster care. And the purpose really of that funding is to help them to have success post-secondary education or through their career.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes. Sana, when you mentioned, you touched upon that you were a foster child and you're an adoptee as well. What personal experience from your journey helped you to fund and decide to have a nonprofit, Unashamed, and want to work with these youth that are transitioning out of our care?
So what I realized when I was in care is there was a lot of extra support and wraparound services that I needed that I, one, didn't know existed, and two, just did not have the reach to be able to attain those different opportunities. And so with Unashamed, we realized that even though you transition out of care, there's still this period of time, probably your entire lifetime, that you still need these extra wraparound supports, this extra community. And so for us, it's our goal to really journey with the youth throughout life. So whatever it is that they're kind of experiencing, we want to be able to be there beside them and mentor them through those different obstacles that they face.
That's wonderful. And you had that firsthand experience in that, and no one knows better. Right. Elizabeth, what type of funds does it cover, the ETV cover?
Yeah, so anything that is going to be relevant or related to your success with post-secondary education or career planning. So annually, up to 5 years, a young person between the ages of 14 to 26 can access these funds. And they are really geared toward anything that's going to help you be successful in whatever that career or education path is. So things like tuition, some room and board assistance, if there's transportation costs that are needed, to get to and from courses or field placements in the community. We can support other opportunities like studying abroad and some of those special study avenues that our young people might want to take advantage of but can't necessarily afford on their own. Other supports like childcare. If you have a college student or a young person that's attending a vocational program who may be a young parent and need childcare for their minor child while they're attending courses or classes, we can fund things like that. So really anything that's related to conducive to their success in whatever field or education that they're in.
It feels like it's limitless,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Sana, how do the ETV funds support Unashamed and in dismantling the generational cycles that lead a youth to have a healthy, productive life? How is the funding helping you?
So it's honestly in a couple ways. The youth that we have seen apply in the past, it's been really helpful, especially for those youth that are interested in doing some type of vocational training, right? Mm-hmm. And so they don't have the funds. They're not readily available for them to be able to sign up or do the tuition for these different programs. But also kids that are in college, that are in the foster care system or who have transitioned out, they have access to technology now, right? So they're able to have their own laptops or tablets or, different books that they may not have readily had if they did not have this funding. So a lot of the youth that we have seen in the past that have accessed these funds have used it specifically for those things. We've seen youth use it for tuition as well. And it's really helpful because, the truth is a lot of times the paperwork and stuff to be able to apply for like financial aid or for loans and things to get this money it's overwhelming for a lot of kids. And because they're foster kids on top of that and they're dealing with the shame and not really wanting to ask for the help, Unashamed is able to partner with DCF to be able to walk them through that, to make sure that they're getting the funds. It's an easy application process, and we help them to actually pay for these funds. Pay for these things that they want to do. So the burden is not on them to have to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. So do the funding goes directly to Unashamed with a contract that we have with you?
Yes.
And that's how the youth will access the funding is through Unashamed?
Yes. So the funding goes directly from DCF to Unashamed, and then Unashamed to that particular training module, whether it's the school, whether it's the bookstore, if we're purchasing things directly from stores, if it's a laptop or anything, we go ahead and make all those purchases and we have those items shipped directly to the youth.
So it's so impressive to have this information. I learned so much from our show, even though I work right at DCF. So Elizabeth, with the funding, how does it help to mitigate any challenges that our youth may be, experiencing?
Yeah, I think just the funding overall, it's a resource and a support. So oftentimes, like, Sana touched a little bit on, in terms of this population of any youth that has lived experience within foster care, it comes with its own challenges as they transition through different stages of life, different levels of or barriers and access to community supports, different barriers and access to familial supports, who those of us who have not experienced foster care may have open access to. But then when you're coming from a system that unfortunately you've had this experience of foster homes, possibly multiple placements and disruptions, oftentimes that leaves you with a smaller support network. And so ETV and other federally funded programs such as this really are sort of, the purpose is to kind of give that resource that helps to fulfill that barrier. And some of the things that we might be able to just go to our family to, for example, the child care. If you don't have that resource, then let us give you the funding through this federally based program that will support you and give you the option to find a babysitter or, fund a family member who can provide that child care. So it's really, it's more so just a support that's going to fulfill that hole that some of our transitional age youth may experience once they've been through the foster care system.
So when a youth is in college, let's say, and there's a cost that comes about, maybe it's a
Yes.
sorority that they're joining or they have it. Is this another avenue to access those funds?
Yeah, you know, of course, with the ETV funds, we have to make sure that it falls in line with our federal, you know, requirements or guidelines. So something like a sorority, you know, that would be something that we would look more into or to speak with our federal partners to see if this is an allowable expense. But really, it's related to any need that's going to help you to fulfill a course credit or a accredited program toward, you know, your education or your career goals. So, but you know, I always say for our young people, if it's a need, ask. Give us the opportunity to look into it and ask those questions, because as we go in life now, compared to what it was years ago, there are things that our young people are experiencing in need. And the more that we can bring that forth to our federal partners, the more they can think about how do we continue to grow this program to be relevant to kids' needs now.
And I know we're going to get into this as we go through the questions, but how would a youth know about these funds being available? I know that hopefully today, you know, in enlightening our community and our viewers that are watching and our staff that may have an opportunity to see this, but how do our youth find out about the resources? Because that's always a barrier.
Yeah. So a couple things, and I'll let Kasana's going to be doing some really cool things about on advertising. But I think the biggest way to know is so when our young people are filling out their FAFSA form for financial aid, there is a box on that form that asks, have you had experience or a history of placement in foster care? And if they check that box, it'll generate information on, depending on what state you're in, who can you contact to explore education and training voucher funding. So oftentimes we get inquiries from there. Social workers, when young people are in foster care, the social worker should be talking to the young people, educating them on this benefit, how to access it, so they're getting that information. But then we also have partnering programs like Sana's Unashamed Inc., and she can talk to you a little bit about the cool stuff she's going to do to kind of increase awareness.
Okay, so tell me about that.
We're excited because, you know, the first kind of go around, we were trying to figure out what's the best way to reach the kids so that they know this program exists. So of course, social media is always one of the options that we're able to go to. But beyond that, we're excited that this go around, people will see information about the ETV funds on their local city buses. So as you are, you know, riding those city buses or standing out on Main Street or different places to load the bus, you will see a QR code that will be right on the bus where you can scan it with your phone, and it'll directly bring you to the site with all the information and the application to apply directly. Our goal is really to make it as easy and seamless as possible for the youth to be able to apply for these funds. So that's one of the ways. Another way that we'll have coming is an app that is coming out exclusively here in Connecticut. So we're excited. It's called My Inner Circle. And so that app is specifically designed for youth that are currently in and transitioning out of care. And it's kind of like a Facebook for foster kids. And so basically we'll be able to blast out information on different resources that we have available, not just ETV funds, but all different resources that are available to youth that are in care throughout our state.
And is that app, so tell me more about this app, because I think that that's incredible. So is that app something that you've developed through Unashamed?
So Unashamed has developed the app. We're partnering with DCF, which is amazing. But even more amazing than that is that we have a development team that consists of youth that are currently in care that have helped us to put this app together, to design the way it looks, the way it feels, the way it operates. And so it's really for youth by youth is really what it is. And so it will really have a place for them to keep in touch with each other, to store important documents that they may need as they're transitioning and as they're applying for jobs in school. One of the things we found is a lot of youth tend to lose very important documents like birth certificates and social security cards. So there will be a secure area for that stuff to be housed as well in case they're in need of it. And again, furthermore, it's going to be just a huge place for us to blast out important information that we need to get into the hands of our youth.
And getting it all at the same time through this app. And has the app rolled out already?
It will be rolling out in the later on this month. We'll be kind of doing some beta testing and sending it out, but hopefully by December it will officially be out and available. So we're really excited. It's something that our team and our youth and DCF has been working on for the year of 2024. And so we're really excited to see it come to our state.
Oh, I'm so excited
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Sana, tell us about a success story of a young person that has had access to these funds in, their journey with us.
So we have a particular youth that I think of, and she had shared with us through a testimonial how she really wanted to do some, in addition to her just going to college, she also wanted to take a phlebotomy class so that she could kind of help with some of her other expenses as she's just kind of navigating through life. So these funds were able to pay for her phlebotomy class. We were able to get all of the supplies and things that she needed to be able to be a part of the phlebotomy class. And it's just helping her to get a job that can help to fund her lifestyle while she's going through school. And so that's kind of something that I think is important, because we know the state of Connecticut is really trying to help people more with what the financial part of tuition costs, right, for kids that are in our state. But this gives them another option to be able to make money now, right, to take some type of a certification or a training that can help them in the right now while they're still navigating the journey of college.
And is she going to school for something medically related?
Yeah, so she's going to school to be a nurse, but she knows it's going to take a little bit of time to get there. So her being able to sign up for a phlebotomy class, she was able to do the class through the summer, which is helpful so that now during the fall, while she's going to school, she can work part-time doing phlebotomy.
Wow. And that's just another skill that she's in helping people.
Right.
Well, that's a wonderful story. Elizabeth, how does DCF collaborate with other organizations like Sana's to partner on this work?
Yeah, so our state in particular, we're connected to a network of other child welfare states across New England. And so we do a lot of information sharing, a lot of sort of like just exploring how different states are using these programs. And as our young people may, whether they stay in Connecticut or move throughout the different areas in other states of within New England, sharing how that information, sharing how we're using these funds so that other states are also able to sort of partner with us, piggyback, emulate the same type of services and things like that. So that's on a more global scale. In terms of within the state of Connecticut, I think we do a lot of work with all of our community partnering agencies really to first and foremost, let them know about this funding. The more that we and our partners are aware of the funding, the more that we can share with our young people who cross the paths and really put that word out there for them. And I think overall, agencies like Sana's, they've been really, really instrumental in just helping us to really reach our young people who are no longer with us. It's easy for DCF really to service the young people that we're working with, but once they leave us, that's when it's challenging to find them, to locate them, to share information with them. So we really rely on agencies like Sana, Unashamed, and other agencies that are going to be kind of our ear to the ground and get the word out there for our young people so that we can service them as best as we can.
And when you're servicing the young people who have left us, is there any criteria that they had to have been in foster care for a certain amount of time to be able to access the funding?
Yeah, so, and I know this segment really is around ETV and that education and training voucher funding, but our federally funded Chafee funds that go toward all of the needs specific to former foster youth who are transitioning into adulthood, all of those funds, when it's within this Chafee funding grant, they're eligible for any young person who has experienced foster care at the age of 14 or after, or any of our young people who have exited foster care at the age of 16 or after through either a transfer of guardianship or an adoption.
Okay.
The only thing that would be an exclusionary criteria for this funding is if the young person is not a documented permanent resident or U.S. citizen.
Okay.
So some of our undocumented young people do not have access to these funds. But again, I always say, ask the question, because if they are not eligible for this, maybe we can connect them to another program that they can take advantage of.
Sana, in your work, what are the common barriers that you have seen with our former foster youth or our foster youth being able to access these funding for educational support?
I think one of the bigger ones is the paperwork. Like I said, it can be very overwhelming when you're seeing the paperwork. It's asking so many questions, and kids just tend to get overwhelmed trying to answer it. And so I think that that can kind of, be a barrier. One thing about our application process for the ETV funds is it's very quick, it's very easy, and we're able to walk them through it even as they're, filling it out to make sure that they're not overwhelmed and that they have the support. Our goal is not for the kids to see the application and decide, I'm not going to do it. We want to really see them through the process. And then after that, we really deal with the schools that they are trying to go to, right? Because the other part is having to get through all of the different options to get to the business office, to find out how much it costs, to pay the invoice. That can get to be a lot for kids. And so we do that. We take on that burden to make sure that they're not having to worry about that. Outside of them actually applying for the funds, we take care of everything that happens after that. And then they just get an email saying you are all set. Here's proof of receipt that your funds have been applied to wherever it is that they requested. And that's the end of it. And they can go on and focus on what is important, which is getting their education.
Right, and lifting that barrier. Liz, what would you say is the best? I know you've talked about the wonderful partnership that you have with Sana and Unashamed, but how would you explain the relationship that the department has with Unashamed and how that's really, driving this work forward?
And I have to say it, not because you're here, but it's invaluable. To have the commitment of a program and an agency not only that's willing to do the work, but understand it from a perspective of lived experience, is like no other. And so oftentimes as a state agency, we have our expectations and sort of our guidelines that we have to follow. Programs like Sana can take that and understanding what the experience is for someone who's lived through it. And oftentimes they help us to navigate what that world looks like to make it manageable for those of the consumers essentially and the young people that are going through the program. So I can't say enough how programs like Sana's really helps us to do our job, but do our job in a way that our young people are benefiting from it. Young people are wanting to seek and receive the service and really reap the benefits that come with it. So again, it's invaluable to have these types of partnerships. Her agency also has opened a door for us to now service young people who are no longer in DCF care. Historically, with our ETV funding, our agency was limited to servicing just those young people that were currently with an open case assigned to a social worker. But our federal partners have allowed us to service these young people even after they've left us. And so having Sana on our team really is what we needed to be able to use her agency as what's called a fiduciary. We will give her the information for these young people that are eligible for this funding, and then she will, and her agency will do what's needed to go ahead and issue the funding for them so that they can receive it.
And what about you? What has this meant for you? I know that you have that personal experience, which is invaluable to work with our young people.
Absolutely. So for us, when we talk about breaking and dismantling generational cycles, poverty is a big one, and lack of stability is a big one, and lack of opportunity. And so for us to be able to partner with DCF, right, for me to be a former youth in care and most of my team to have lived experience in child welfare as well, in one way or another, for us to be able to be at the table and to sometimes be a voice for the kids who are voiceless is invaluable, right? It's really our way of being able to give back. And it's a way in which we keep pushing generations forward in this work and really getting them to the table. And so we're able to hear directly from our youth what it is that they need or what are those barriers. And we can go back to DCF and say, listen, this is what we're hearing. This is what we're seeing. What can we do to shape and change and move things forward to help these youth? And I'm grateful that we get to partner with Liz and Tasha and so many at their team because they listen to us. And I think that's really important, right? We're not just a token for them. They're literally asking us, what do you guys need? What are you hearing? How can you help? How can we help you? And so I think that is extremely important. And honestly, Jaqueline, I never thought that as a former youth and care that I would be at this table doing this work and like being involved in these type of opportunities.
And your seat at our table is, I mean, you've made such an impact in the years that you have been a part of the work that we're doing. And I know that personally, and having had you on our show before, just your life experience and your passion and your commitment to making life better for kids than what you experienced is just, I mean, there's not enough words to say, you know, how amazing I think you are. And I tell you every chance that I get. Now, we only have a few more minutes. Is there anything, you know, I know I have some more questions that we didn't go over, but using the last few minutes that we have for this show, is there anything that you can think of that you want to reinforce or remind our viewers of about our, you know, these young people accessing this resource that they may never have known existed?
You know, just for the viewers to know that this funding is out there, and so the more that the viewers can take this information, share it. Our DCF website is going to have some information about how to access these funds. So if you know a young person who has experienced foster care, you know, at the age of 14 or thereafter and is currently attending a post-secondary education program, who has graduated from high school, share this information, have them reach out to myself, contact us through the DCF website so that the information can get to us, and ask the questions. If you're interested and feel like this is a need and want to know more, ask, and we'll see what we can do to make sure that all youth are aware of this funding and they are taking advantage of it if they are eligible.
Okay, and we'll make sure we have your emails on the screen when our viewers are watching. Sana, do you have anything else to add?
I would just say log on to unashamedinc.org. If you go right to the homepage, you will see a banner for the ETV funds. You can click there and apply. Even if you're not sure if you are eligible, go ahead and apply and let us contact you and move this step forward.
Thank you. Thank you both for being on. This is such important information for us to share with our viewers, with our colleagues, with all the youth out there who can benefit from this program and this funds. Thank you, the funds. Thank you for watching Doors to Hope and Healing. If you would like more information about Unashamed, you can visit their website. And for more information on the ETV funding, you can visit the Department of Children and Families website, as well as email our two guests today who will share with you more information to help you decide if you know of a youth that could benefit from this program. Thank you very much for watching.
Step into our store and discover a stunning array of dancewear. Introducing Dancingly Yours, your one-stop shop for all things dance and delight for ages 2 to 92. From tiny tutus to energetic tap shoes, our store is a treasure trove of dance essentials. At Dancingly Yours, we offer an extensive collection of dancewear and accessories that cater to all styles and levels. We carry top brands and the latest fashion trends. From ballet to hip-hop, lyrical to jazz, ballroom to liturgical, as well as gymnastics, you'll find the best selection right here at Dancingly Yours. But we're not just a store. We're a community that celebrates the joy of dance. Our expert team is passionate about dance, just like you. So we're here to assist you in finding the perfect fit. And the best part, Dancingly Yours offers competitive pricing in-store and online. Dancingly Yours, easy to get to, and worth the trip from anywhere, right on Route 10 in Plainville.
This is Bristol Health Cares. Special thanks to Nutmeg TV. It's a nonprofit organization, an organization that's going through some difficult times right now and needs your support. Many of you out there have cut the cable, as I have cut the cable. And a lot of the funding that took place for nonprofit stations like Nutmeg TV throughout the state of Connecticut, as people transition from cable TV to the other methods of getting their content, the funding has gone down and down and down. And so programs like this, like you're seeing today, and the programs that you watch on Nutmeg TV, may not be there in the future if we don't all rally behind them and help them with our support to the extent that we can. So have a wonderful day, and until the next time, this is Kurt Barwas, President and CEO of Bristol Health, signing off.